So the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro came out many years ago, but let's go and see how both these phones hold up in 2024. I will tell you, I should have probably put different wallpapers on both these devices, but regardless, let's go and see how they compare. I will tell you one thing though, if you want to pick up either one of these devices, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these devices, you can see that both of them are, similar but slightly different as well. The iPhone 14 was the cheaper model of the iPhone 14 Pro. This phone on the front was giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and overall, it's a pretty good looking panel. I don't really have that much to complain about here with this particular phone. It gets fairly bright. The notch up top, which still looks very good. You have overall like good stuff. Like I said, I don't really have that much to complain about here with this particular device, and I do feel like if I'm getting a particular phone, I do like the way this particular phone looks. And overall, if I'm getting a device, this one still looks good. The notch up at the very top can be a turnoff for some people. I don't really think it's that big of a deal for me, but if it's a big deal for you, then you could always go through and upgrade to something like the iPhone 14 Pro, which is giving you the same size display. It's still also a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. There's a few things to keep in mind here. One, the 14 Pro is significantly heavier than the 14. This phone is built like a slab of gold. It feels like this one feels so much more premium than the iPhone 14. You're getting the dynamic island at the very top though, which I love. I love having the dynamic island. It's very nice and cool. And I think it's a nice build. I think it feels very good in the hand too. And I do think this in and of itself is a very nice thing going on for this particular phone. It's a very nice display too. Like I've liked this display since it first came out, and I still think it's a very good display when it comes down to it. But you're also getting a 120 Hz display on this particular phone as well. So this in and of itself is another really crazy thing going on for this particular phone too. So it has a lot of good stuff. I'm really happy with these types of devices, and this one for sure looks much nicer with the 14 Pro than the iPhone 14. On the sides, you can see a little bit of a different type of layout as well. So you can see on the iPhone 14 Pro, we're getting this reflective material for the most part, which looks really good. I like the way this particular phone feels and looks. With the iPhone 14, you're getting this, standard type of side. The buttons and everything are almost at the same side as well. The ringer on off switches here too. Again, not like a crazy amount of things to complain about, but the 14 Pro feels and looks so much better for sure. At the very top, basically, reflective material. At the very bottom, you're getting your lightning ports, speaker grills, everything's basically the same. But man, the 14 Pro, I could just talk about this phone all day. It looks that beautiful. On the backside, you can see again, the 14 Pro has this triple camera setup, pretty large sensors with a LiDAR sensor. The iPhone 14 has that dual camera setup there as well. Again, there's not really a lot to complain about here with either one of these, but the frosted glass back feels significantly better than that standard glass back that's going on with the iPhone 14. Apple logos in the very center. You're getting your circular MagSafe chargers on the backside, which again, I like a lot. You're getting your wireless charging pad. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff to love about both these phones, but I really do appreciate the phone like the iPhone 14 Pro because it just feels and looks so beautiful. It really is like one of my most favorite phones out there in terms of the feeling and looking, and I mean, it looks the same thing as the 15 Pro, but this phone looks beautiful, which is something I'm really happy about. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of software and longevity, this has always been kind of an issue, I would say, for both these devices, because the iPhone 4, this was the first year Apple kind of threw in different chipsets in both their phones. This was back in 2022. So what Apple did was with this iPhone, they gave it a year-old chipset, so an older chipset than the iPhone 14 Pro. So because of that, Apple could do a few things. One, they could support these phones for the same amount of time. Or two, which is more plausible, I think Apple's probably going to go through and support the iPhone 14 Pro for an extra year. Then the iPhone 14, they're not going to support it for an extra year. Like the 14 is not going to last as long as the 14 Pro. And I do think that's probably the way Apple's going to go through and kind of move it in that direction. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 14 Pro has that Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 14 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's the faster phone between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are clear in the background except for this one. 14 Pro is here, 14 is here. Let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Music 3, 2, 1. Okay, a few differences here and there, but both are still very good. Mail 3, 2, 1. There we go. Let's get into App Store 3, 2, 1. And two different panels on both, so we'll just kind of load them into the same panels and we'll scroll through. Now again, with the 14 Pro having that Super Retina XDR display with a ProMotion display, It's a very, very nice touch, and I really do like this type of panel over the 14s for sure. But the 14 is still actually pretty good. Clock 3, 2, 1. About the same thing too. Camera 3, 2, 1. Cool. Photos 3, 2, 1. 14 looked to be a little bit faster there for the most part, hopping onto both of these. We do have some third-party applications we can test out. Let's go and try something like, I think I have Genshin Impact 3, 2, 1. This is a very, very big game. So we'll just get into it until we get into the main loading panel. But I will tell you, I mean, to me, it looks like the 14 is probably going to be better too and faster. But again, we'll see what happens when we get into it officially. It was like almost identically the same. So there was pretty much no difference there when it came down to it. Snake first blocks, 3, 2, 1. The 14 Pro, I think, was the faster one when it came down to it. So you can see right here, basically the same exact thing. Netflix 3, 2, 1. Okay, that one kind of covers that one up. Thank you 3, 2, 1. And kind of the same thing here too. You can kind of see hopping out of this one. Let's go and do Subway Surfers, which I don't even have, I don't think. We can try something else. We can try Facebook 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think the 14 again is the faster one. I'm not really too sure why there's like these big of differences here. Stack 3, 2, 1. And with this one, I think again the 14 may have been the faster one, but they were on two different panels. Getting into the actual game, let's see what's going on. And I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference here either, but I will tell you when it kind of comes down to it, there's a lot of things to love about both these phones. I like both these phones a lot. But I think the 14 honestly was faster some ways than the iPhone 14 Pro. But the 14 Pro, like for the most part, should be the faster one. I'm not too sure what was even going on today. But that's kind of how I see both of these devices kind of holding up right now from the speed department. From the camera department, you're still getting a very good camera on both these phones. The 14 Pro is still giving you that triple camera setup, a wide ultra-wide telephoto lens. iPhone 14 is giving you a wide and ultra-wide camera. I do like both these phones a lot. I think both these phones are killer in so many different ways. You're getting 4K at 60 on the front, 4K at 60 on the back. Very, very good cameras from that particular perspective. But I will tell you there's definitely one that's better, and that's not really a secret. With the iPhone 14, this camera was very solid. You know, for the most part, whenever I really do anything with these cameras, I get a really good experience from them. You're getting 5x zoom right here. On the outside, you're getting 0.5x zoom, which is still very good. As I mentioned before, I don't really have too much to complain about here from that particular perspective. You're getting video mode, cinematic mode, slow mode, time lapse, portrait mode, panorama mode. There's still a lot of really nice things to love about both these phones. And with the iPhone 14 camera, still pretty good. You're getting a few more things built into the iPhone 14 Pro, like ProRes RAW you can kind of film in. But for the most part, for the average person filming your video, like you're not going to have that big of a difference. You're not going to go and film those things on an everyday basis. You are getting 15x zoom though, which is a very, very nice thing to have. I love having that in and of itself. Being able to zoom in a lot more is a super nice touch. Video mode, cinematic mode, which is nice, slow mode, time lapse. Basically, all the other features are roughly around the same thing, but it is really nice to have that type of built-in capability on the iPhone 14 Pro with an overall better camera. So I will tell you when it kind of comes down to it, if I'm going to go through and pick up one phone, it's going to be the iPhone 14 Pro. That's not really a secret. And I will tell you, if you're looking at a used iPhone 14 Pro or a brand new iPhone 14, honestly, there's not really that big of a price difference. Like a used iPhone 14 Pro is probably going to cost you around $700. Like a used iPhone 14 is probably going to cost you around the same price right now too. So I would tell you just go buy a used iPhone 14 Pro. It's going to make a lot more sense for you to go ahead and buy. And that's kind of how I see both these phones holding up right now. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.